It's easy to speak out about the way I live, but it's a 24-karat dream.
Hi and welcome to this very special episode of Junk Journal with me, where I will be using some colors I usually don't use, and I'm using, as you can see, red, white and blue to celebrate the US's Independence Day. And by the way, belated Happy Independence Day to all you Canadians. I believe you had yours on July 1st. And so what I did here is basically I took out everything I had in the colors red, white and blue, and I have no idea which of these I will be using in my spread, but I wanted to challenge myself to use pretty much only these colors in this spread, and I'm going to be doing a mixed media spread in my journal, and these are some more neutral pieces that might serve as either background or focal pages. I didn't know at this point, and I wanted to use the prompt color you wouldn't pick, because if you know my channel, you know these are not colors I would usually go for. And these prompts you can find in the description box below if you want to use them. They are a list of summer prompts that you can use at any time randomly as you like. So I just took out one of the pages because it's easier to work with if it's out of the book. So my flexible binding once more is extremely helpful. And I took these digital prints, which are actually from Naji from Amity Bloom, her feed sack prints. I had purchased them a long time ago. I will link these below. And I had printouts of these, and so I just cut them down into these squares because it's easier to work with them like this. And I'm just going to more or less randomly going to paste or glue them onto the page until it fills up the whole page. And I'm also going to be using some of these beautiful fabric pieces that I have. This one was from a Happy Mail, and I'm just going to use them like I'm using the paper. I'm just gluing them down with my glue stick, and even though you don't see me actually use the glue on the paper strips, they are not stickers. I am actually using the glue stick, but I decided to cut that part out because it's boring and I don't want to waste your time watching me glue a bunch of pieces down. So, and then I saw this paper and it's exactly like the fabric piece I had. So I wonder if that was an original feed sack or a reproduction of a feed sack of that fabric or not, because that's what Nazi's prints are. And what I'm trying to do here is just to mix it up between the blues and the reds, and just to have a variety, not to have the same ones next to each other. And I always like tearing my pieces in a square form. I don't like random forms too much for some reason. And yeah, I'll just continue doing this until the page is full, and I have a pretty crazy background, but I will mute that down a little later. And while you watch me do this, I wanted to say that I want to continue with my free Skype journal consults. I've had a few so far, and I think they've been going really well, and I'm really enjoying connecting with you. If you show me your projects, that is awesome. I love seeing your journals and seeing what you're up to. And I'm happy to try to help you if you're stuck somewhere, or if you think a page doesn't look finished, or you don't know how to do a collage, or don't know how to use the tools, or how to move on from where you are, or you're not inspired. I'm really happy to discuss these things with you. And so I'm offering some more 15-minute Skype sessions, and I will be posting a link in the description box where you can sign up for these. And so the next ones I'm offering are 3 slots on Sunday, July 14th. And I hope that you will sign up. It's very easy. And hope to see you in one of these sessions. So now after everything is glued down, I'm using my Liquitex clear gesso, which I also have linked below in case you're interested. You could also use Mod Podge if you have that at home. Better to use matte than a glossy one, I believe. And I'm just using my sponge brush to go over everything on this page to make sure everything is sealed in and primed. And now I'm using my bright white gesso, which I also have linked below. You can also use some cheap acrylic paint if you don't want to buy gesso, because gesso is quite a bit more expensive. And this is how I'm going to mute down my page. And as you can see, I'm just using my finger, which is such a great tool, to go along the edges of where the papers or the fabric meet, just to soften that a little bit up. And also going over the washies. I just used various washies that I had in my stash with those same colors. And I'm just going to keep going with this until I feel it's muted enough. And I did let it dry before I put the gesso on. I did dry the clear gesso with my heat gun just for a second. It dries really quick anyway. So almost done with that. It's so much fun just playing with your fingers, playing with this supply and getting your hands dirty. I love it. My background is more in art journaling than in the style of like craft journaling that I've been doing. So now I feel like I want to get a little bit more into the art journaling style and hopefully inspire you to give it a try as well. And here I'm using my Caran d'Ache Neon Color 2 water soluble wax pastels. That is a really long name. And I'm also choosing colors in the same color range. I love these so much, probably even more than my Caran d'Ache colored pencils, because these are even more juicy and yummy, and I love working with these. And I just wanted to add them to some parts of the paper, and I'm starting with adding it a little bit on the edge, and I wanted to see if I could smudge it with my finger. And it did smudge a little bit, but not as much as I wanted it to. So here I'm taking my water brush, and now the paint moves much better. So I'm just doing that in a few places on the edges, and that's working really well. This is kind of like a dark blue, and adding some on that edge as well. The smudging is just great, and I will also be adding some that I can then drip, because I always love the drip effect. If you don't have these, you can use either your colored pencils if they're water soluble. You can use water soluble markers, maybe Tombows or whatever brand you have, or your watercolors, of course. Your watercolors would be great as well. But I have these and I haven't used them in such a long time, so I'm really enjoying playing with these. So now I switch to the red, and I'm going to do the same thing and just kind of smudge it around, spread it on various parts of the page. And I'm not thinking a lot about this at all. I'm just kind of going with the flow, doing what I feel like doing at that moment. And now I'm going to start adding some drip action here, and since I didn't have a jar of water there, I thought I could just use the water from inside my water brush, but way too much came out, and so I'm going to have to just dab a little bit to remove some of that water. That was just too much, and I will be adding more pigment later. So I keep taking away and adding to various parts of the spread until I'm happy with how things look. Also, again, too much water, so then I realized, okay, that is not really working. So then I finally got some water, and now this is much better and more controlled when I have a little less water. So I'm just now adding some more blue on that side. Then I'm gonna also do a little bit with the red. The red is a bit more tricky, I think, because the red, when it drips, easily looks like it's blood. which is not the effect I'm going for. Here's some more blue, and I just love that. Yeah, and here we go with the red. I'm just doing that on that one side. Just trying to make it move a little bit. And I really like the effect, how that drips down. And now I'm using one of these stencils. I have no idea where to get this. I apologize. I got this at a craft fair. And I don't know the name or the company or anything. But I wanted to, oh yeah, and I have this new texture paste. It's from Lazo, which is a Swiss company. I will link that down as well in case you're interested in finding this product. Look at how yummy and grainy this is. This has like a sandy texture, and it's really, really awesome to use. This was the first time I ever tried this product, and I'm so happy with it. And I wanted to mix it with some blue. So I have this old acrylic paint, and I was happy that it hadn't dried out yet. So I'm just going to mix that both up together. And I have this blue, which is actually going to change its color once it's dry. And I'm going to use this paste and to put the date up there in the corner. So I'm doing it the European way, which is first a day, then the month, not like you do it in North America with first a month and then the day, which is very confusing for any European. So here you see the 4, how beautiful and crisp that turned out, and raised and grainy and just lovely. And now I'm going to do actually a dot, which isn't really part of the stencil because this was meant to put through, to put into a binder. But that's a perfect period there after the 4. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with the 7, which is a bit more challenging because the 4 is kind of in the way. And the cool thing is you can just wipe away any excess or any paste that you put there by mistake. And I'm again adding the period after that. So there we go. We have 4th of July. Loving that. And now I'm using this stencil. I also do not have a link for this, but here's the brand and the number in case you want to look that up. I really, really enjoy this stamp. It has really a lot of great words, and I'm going to choose 2 of these for my spread. So one is going to be Hope, that I'm going to put there on the bottom right. So you see that came out really nice and crisp again. Love, love, love that. And then on the left side, always keeping in mind where the crease in the middle is going to be so that I don't put texture paste over the middle. I'm using the word create, and that also turns out really lovely. Just be sure to clean everything off after you use it. And there you see how much darker it got after it dried, which is perfect actually for this spread, but something maybe to be aware of if there are specific colors you want on your spread. But this way I think you can even see them better. And now it was time to think about some focal points. And while working on this spread, I was thinking of, okay, what does this day stand for? So it's your Independence Day, and then I thought, okay, independence, and I wanted to kind of relate it to the independence of women, because after all, I think 99.9% YouTube is telling me women are watching my channel, and so I wanted to relate it to women. So I decided to look up about voting rights of women in Austria, since this is where I live. And so I looked up a fact and wrote down on this label here, on November 12, 1918, women were granted the right to vote and stand for election in Austria. In 1919, they were able to vote for the first time on equal terms with men. So I believe this is just a few months before the same thing happened in America. So it was all around the same time, 1990s, 1920s. And I think we really need to appreciate the fact that we as women are, you know, it's so normal today that we can vote, but actually this was a very, very difficult accomplishment, as I'm sure most of you are aware, and we need to embrace that and make use of the right that we can vote. And so that's why I wanted to document this on this page. And I really, so these are Tim Holtz ladies that I received in some Happy Mail quite a while ago, and I thought it would be cute if they would have wings to symbolize that they are more free and they can fly and they are more independent. And thankfully they are smiling so sweetly on that photo, so it works out really well. It looks like they're really treasuring their right to vote. So that's how that looks in a close-up, but I'm not quite done yet. I also wanted to kind of integrate them more onto the spread, so I'm taking my black neon colored 2, or they're not neon colored 2, they're just water soluble pencils from Caran d'Ache, and I'm just using that to kind of make a shadow around the girls with their wings, just to integrate them more into the page so that they don't look like they're just glued onto the page, but they're actually part of the page. So I'm just going around it with my pencil and then going over it with my water brush a little bit, kind of fade it out. And I keep doing that around and around until I'm happy with the shading effect. I'm going right over the fabric as well, since there's some Liquitex clear gesso over it. That is no problem. And that's when I stop. So there you see some of the shading. So I'm really happy with how this page turned out, and I'm really happy I challenged myself using these colors that I would never usually use. And now I'm going to put it into my junk journal, and I decided I'm going to put it in front of this little booklet, which was originally the center of the signature, but now I want to make this spread the center. So I'm just wiggling that through my flexible binding and just making sure that everything works out. And I love this so much, so happy I did this. And now, as a second very quick spread, I wanted to include this email that I received from Fawn. Hi Fawn. And she wrote me the most sweet email after our recent journal consultation. And I wanted to include that in this journal, but I want to keep it private. It's a private email. And so what I did is I printed it out on my coffee stained paper, and since it was an A4 paper and it was way too large for this book, I just folded it up, and now I'm going to glue it down with some double-sided tape onto my page. But I'm going to put some twine underneath it so that I can tie it together and so that it would stay closed. So here you see I'm just tying it up with a bow, but then I realized what it needs is just a little something, and I apologize for any car or motorcycle noises in the background, but my window is open because it's really hot here. And I wanted to use this mint colored lace self-adhesive trim that I got from Action. If you're in Europe, you probably know this great store. It's a Dutch chain. And so I just glued that on there, and now I'm going to tie it shut again. And so now I have my lovely letter in there from Fawn, and I can always look at it and it doesn't get buried in my emails, and this way I can really treasure it. So I hope you enjoyed this special episode of July 4th. Hope you play around with your mediums for a little bit. It's so much fun, and happy 4th of July. Happy crafting. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching.